what the plan is today, is to pull the old radiator, put the new radiator in. Still gotta go to the parts store and get it. We got a phone call that it was in, so pick that up in a little bit, and that's the plan. So like I said, the main thing today is replace the radiator. All right, first thing we're gonna have to do is take this pan off. There's a skid plate. I think there's supposed to be 6 bolts holding this up. All right, lower pan is removed. So I don't know how yours is, but on mine, the front bolts were 13 mil for the 2 of those. The rear one back here, which actually goes up into this pan here, that was a 12 mil. So kind of odd, but 12 mil, 13 mil, anyway. So now you can see my mess up under here. I'm gonna get 2 transmission cooler lines. Got one right here and another one right up here. Those should, I should be able to just loosen these hose clamps, take those off. One transmission line disconnected. Some nasty looking transmission fluid. Now I'll disconnect the other transmission line. I'll probably bag those and tie them up out of the way a little bit so I don't have transmission fluid leaking all over my floor. All right, so I've got my little bags with zip ties on them, put a paper towel in there to hope absorb a little bit of oil. Just because into my hoses too. All right, so now kind of get the hose clamp loose from the lower radiator hose. I'm really hoping that I don't get a whole bunch of crud that comes out of here, and I really don't want a whole bath in the radiator or antifreeze. All right. So she's draining now. I think it wasn't too bad. A little splatter came out. Not bad though. Then you gotta take the radiator cap off. All right, and let it drain for a little bit. All right, while that's draining, I'm gonna go ahead and take this overflow tube off, or hose off. Okay. I'll just tuck him around over here. This hose, I'm gonna have to work to get the piece of the radiator out of that hose. So, sometimes the hoses, after you break it loose, it's a good idea to twist it a little bit. All right, so you don't want, if you're going to be reusing your hoses, you want the teeth in whatever you're using to break it free and twisting it to damage your hoses. So I've put some painter's tape on my channel locks. You can use masking tape or whatever, duct tape, just something so that the teeth on it don't actually bite into the rubber hose. So, grab hold of it. Once it's twisted, it should come off reasonably easy. Yep. But you can tell it took a little bit to twist it and get it off. So now, I don't know if you can really make out. That's the piece that broke off inside of there. To me, it looks like that thing had been cracked for a while, just because it's so, it doesn't look like a clean, fresh break. Maybe it does a little bit up in here, right in here, but the other part down around there is really black looking, and I almost think that it's been that way for a while. Actually, I should probably take my fan shroud off first. All right, so see down here, 10mm bolts right there. One here, one right here. And let's see. Really hard to see on the camera down there, but it's on your car. You should be able to have no problems looking down in there and seeing the, yeah, there it is. You can kind of see it right down in there. And same place on this side over here. You can see it's the rusty one down there. Yeah, they're all rusty. So I'm gonna go ahead and take those 4 bolts out and remove the fan shroud. All right, so I've got all 4 bolts out from the fan shroud. That lower bolt on the passenger side was really a pain to get to. Hopefully you won't have that hard of a time as I did. And this just kind of comes up. So there is one little hose clamp that's just a little snap thing, and that's for the transmission cooler line. I left it connected to the fan shroud and just undid the clamp. So you can do what you want to, but like I said, on some of the videos I saw there's a lower part of the fan shroud that goes in here. This car doesn't have one. So now it looks like I'll be taking out these 12mm bolts. Looks like 2 on top and 2 on the bottom, and might shoot them with just a squirt of penetrating oil, see how they do. The bottom ones look really rusty, so anyway. Well, remember I told you the bottom bolts? I'm sure you remember this just a second ago. Bottom bolts were rusted really bad, so hit them with some PB Blaster. That stuff's either really strong and ate right through my bolts, or it was really bad. So 1, 2, not good. Anyway, they're just a square nut that fits into the housing of the radiator. It's removable, I think. I'll look at it when I get it off. From looking at the top, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I can find new nuts or new bolts to go in there, and we can make it work. It's okay. All right, so now that all 4 of those bolts are out, nope, studs weren't holding it up. So here's the old radiator. My wonderful wife just texted me, said that she's on her way home with the new radiator. So we'll set this guy aside. Alright, got the new radiator. Hopefully it's in good shape. Yeah, everything looks the same. Even better. I got the, so I could take these mounts off the side, and I've got new bolts and new nuts, so old rusted ones won't matter. Just put a new radiator cap on that other radiator when I did the other stuff on it, so a couple weeks ago. So yeah, we're all set. Maybe I should look at that. Maybe that wouldn't be too bad to get to. An extension. And it hangs in there. It's got like these hooks. So I might take a look at that. Maybe those won't be too bad to get to, and I could just use everything new. Anyway, you do what's best for you. I'm just telling you, I'm no expert. All right, so I just took the brackets out. I was able to use a 6-inch and a 3-inch extension, 3/8 drive, 12mm socket, and reach up through my grill right there. And actually that bolt is about to fall out. So let's see if I can grab it. All right. And then for the bottom, I just used a universal joint extension to reach over there, and I was able to go in from there's like a, so there's those blanks in right there, so you can't go straight in at the bolt, but you can go in off to the side a little bit, and with a U-joint you can get on it pretty good. So I tried that, and now I'll put the new radiator down in there, and it should actually hang in there because it has, I'll show you on the old mounts. Okay, so here's the old mount, and you see that little tab sticking out right here. That goes in a little slot and hangs on there, just behind the front cross member piece there. And anyway, it holds your radiator in there while you get those bolts started. So we're gonna see how it goes. So now let me try to lower this thing down in there and see what happens. Alright, so it's sitting on those tabs right now. Looks like it's sitting right in place. Now the top bolts are definitely the easier of the 4 bolts to put in, because I won't need to use a U-joint and go straight in with them. So let me try getting those started. Alright, so that got started good. And grab my socket back. And we get the passenger side. Alright, to start it, I don't need the ratchet, I can just go straight in with it. I lied. started. All right, now let's see how much fun those lower ones are. The one thing I did notice is the lower ones, if I have to, I think I can reach up from underneath and at least get them started. Let me see if you can see what I'm looking at. It's kind of a boring camera angle there. Okay, you see that that hole down there? That's the hole that I'm trying to get into. See if I can make this so you have light and you can see it, and then maybe I can reach in there with it and try and get it. It's always the challenge of one-handed. Make sure you stay in the shot, blah, blah, blah. All right. Okay, so I'm in there right there, but it's not started yet. Almost feels like my radiator probably needs to come up just a little bit. All right, so I've got all 4 bolts started. In fact, the lower passenger side I've got tightened down. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten down those other 3 bolts that hold this bracket on. So we'll get to the lower driver's side. Then I can take the U-joint off. And like I said, this is 12 millimeter holding the brackets to the, I don't know what you call this, right behind the grill. This whole piece that goes across here. It's the front of the car minus the grill. Okay. So now that guy's tight. One more to get to over here. Always helps when you can see it. All right. Now, mounted in there. Just need to reconnect my lines. Put my fan shroud back on. And fill it up and test it out. And we'll drop this guy down here. Let's get this little hose clamp that's going to get kind of hung up on the fan a little bit. So then it goes down in there just fine. Then I got to grab my 10 millimeter bolts. All right, so I've got my lower radiator hose back on. Transmission hoses back on. I just need to put that skid plate on the bottom here and fill her up with antifreeze. All right, so I've got the skid plate back on the bottom, topped off with antifreeze. Can't really see it. I already put my light away. I'm gonna wait till I start it and make sure that after it circulates a little bit, get any air bubbles out of there. We should be all set. All right, so one last look at this. To me, there's like a noticeable difference where the piece that broke off and the rest of the radiator are. I mean, you can see, it just, don't pay attention to this big hole. That's what I put in it when I was trying to get it out of the out of the radiator hose. But I think that the crack down here towards the bottom, I probably broke that last night. The rest of this stuff, I think was already there. I think it was just one little bit of plastic away from being a roadside emergency. So anyway, looks good now. I got a nice new radiator on there, and she should be good to go. That's what you gotta do. Hope this helps out, and keep it running.